We are Cactus Wrestling. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos.
Today we're going to talk about Final X recap, and Mike and I were live and in person in Newark,
Yeah, Newark.
Newark at the Prudential Center, uh, and Final X 2023 was pretty exciting. We got some highlights, we got some lowlights. Starting off with the shocker that no one saw coming was Zane Richards beating Thomas Gilman, not only just beating him, but in two straight.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. Like I I couldn't believe that Richard pulled off the win the first match. I thought Gilman was gonna come back and beat him in the second one, and then there'd be a third match to really iron it out. But Zayn just out wrestled him. He looked better than Gilman. Gilman just did not wrestle well. Richards kept getting to takedowns. Gilman was like struggling to score, and that's really surprising to see from the returning world medalist. Like you expect him to be able to at least win a match from a domestic opponent, but
He looked kind of sluggish. I wonder if he was cutting weight or he just had a bad day, but he didn't look like his typical self. He just kind of looked slow, a little lethargic. And it's not like Zane was just, I mean, head and shoulders better
no,
than
they were
him.
competitive matches. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but
yeah.
I still don't think anyone was expecting Zayn to win, let alone two straight. Not
Well, I
even
mean,
going to the
our
tiebreaker.
our predictions was the exact opposite. All three of us had predicted Gilman in two, not Richards. We didn't even think he'd win one match, let alone get the spot.
It's going to be crazy to see what happens at the Worlds with Zayn.
I
I
mean,
mean,
I
he's
hope he
coming into his own.
medals. I
I don't
hope
know.
he medals because Gilman, I'd be pretty confident would be medaling. So Richards, you better come through.
Yeah, we were joking too off camera in our text, and we were saying, where's Gilman gonna transfer to wrestling club wise? Is he gonna go back to Iowa? Just
Yeah.
train with Spencer Lee to no, but it was Zane Richards' day, and kudos to him. So he earned that spot.
Next matchup that I mean, this one was two straight, and it kind of was expected. Arujau against Garrett, but those two matches were those were fireworks. They were really exciting
Yeah,
matches. Those guys really let it fly. Garrett really made it seem like he was going to win one of those matches, and Arujau somehow, he found a way to pull it off, which was amazing. Um,
they call David Taylor the Magic Man, but I feel like Arujo kind of has that style to him that he could just pull points out of nowhere. It
yeah, it
feels
was
like.
like, oh yeah, Garrett's got this one locked. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy.
I was pulling for Garrett in the second one when he had the lead too. I was like, all right, let's go, let's get round three. Come on.
Not quite. How about Zane Rutherford getting headbutted by Tyler Berger, gushing blood, stitches in his eye, him
That was
yelling at his face. And Zane is a pretty stand-up guy. He doesn't get too animated unless it's
right.
worth getting animated for. I mean, that was as intentional of a headbutt as I've ever
Yeah.
seen by Tyler Berger.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We were looking at a clip of it, and where you can hear Zayn, and he's like, "That's messed up." Like, and then how at the post match interview, he was like, "I guess like I wasn't even trying to score. I was just trying to, get physical with him." Um, but yeah, no, he ended up getting, I think, like 10, 12 stitches from that gash that he had.
Oh, his eye was just like ballooned outwards, tape across
Yeah,
his
there was a
head,
ton
barely
of
could
blood
see.
time happening.
And it just poked the beast. Like
Yeah, yeah.
Berger was obviously trying to get in his head, make a statement like I'm here, but it wasn't
It did the
working.
opposite. It made it made Zayn want to rip his head off, and Berger just he couldn't score. He couldn't really put any points up. So Yanni against Nick Lee. Uh, I really didn't think it was going to go the way that it did. I thought that Yanni was going to remain the world team member and probably medal again, but that's not what happened. Nick Lee shut him out twice. Yeah, there was a controversial call. I kind of wish they had just let it
That's what you're
lie as
saying.
it was originally called, and it went to a third match. Um, but it got reversed. And I mean, the first match, Yanni looked awful. Like Nick Lee looked so much better.
He was
And
gassing towards the end, though.
yeah, but still, Yanni just he looked so sloppy and sluggish in that match. Nick Lee looked sharp, and I mean that it paid off because he won it. And then the next match was a lot more competitive, and Yanni looked a lot better, made a lot of adjustments, but it wasn't enough. And I mean, he arguably got screwed on the call, but like, I mean,
Well, they were both pretty close matches point
yeah,
wise,
yeah,
but that's my biggest gripe with freestyle wrestling is that the call was pretty much the exposure. Like Yanni was
yeah.
basically like right here, and they gave him the two. But I'm like, if you think of it from like an outside fan's perspective, and you like all Nick Lee did was just like just like
A little
push them that
twist.
way,
Yeah.
and that's a 2 point match winning move. That's like where I'm like,
Yeah,
does
that's
that
worth
really,
the same as if he got a takedown and was behind it on top and ready to try and turn him.
yeah, does that really prove that you're the better wrestler? I, that's
I
where I have a hard
Yeah,
time
I think
believing that.
it needs to get ironed out a little bit more. But
And that was what you were saying in live, just like let him go to three. We
yeah,
got to see
yeah, let's come on,
it.
let's get the third one, let them settle it. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's not how that played out. Um, so I mean, one of the marquee matchups of the that I think everyone was anticipating and excited for was Snyder Cox, which everyone knows did not happen due to a, I guess, ankle injury Friday night, which couldn't have come at a worse time.
I still think he missed weight.
Well, they didn't. You didn't see the clip. They showed him on crutches getting to the scale and weighing in.
It was an excuse. He missed weight at a higher weight class.
Yeah, misweighted the higher weight. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, he does have a really poor track record against Snyder, so it was probably in Snyder's favor. But um, and then I think one of the highlights of the Steveson Paris matchup was Mason Paris actually got a takedown
Yeah,
in
he
one of
took
the
him
matches.
down.
He actually got a takedown. And I was like almost to my feet, like, yeah, like let's go. Maybe he can. No, it was never in question, but it was still exciting nonetheless to see Gable get taken down by Mason. That was something pretty
And
fun.
then he celebrated with the flip,
Oh yeah,
live and in person.
yeah. He hyped up the crowd, got the way arms
He
up.
knows how to work
Come
a
on.
crowd.
Do you guys want it? Yeah, you want the flip?
I don't know how successful he is in WWE yet, but he definitely likes playing the crowd.
Yep.
And he got us, and I was yelling, do it," and I wanted to see it. So yeah, that was cool to see. And then how about Zaheed Valencia just absolutely dominating at a higher weight class, no
Oh
less.
yeah. Machiavello had no answer. Like he was just outclassed. Like he could not do
Anything.
anything until the last like 20 to 30 seconds of the second match where he finally scored like a takedown, I think. And but outside of that, it was just like Zaheed was like able to outposition him, get to his takedowns, get to his scores, and he just couldn't stop. Like he could not stop Zaheed's takedowns. Like no question, it was like when Zaheed shot in and really committed to it, it was game over.
It almost felt like, what is this guy doing here? He does not belong against
Yeah, yeah,
Zaheed.
right.
Like he just was toying with him.
Yeah,
Um, it was incredible to see
and
that.
the craziest thing is, had Zaheed beaten Aaron Brooks at the U.S. Open, he would have been wrestling David Taylor, and he might not even be on the world team.
That's crazy.
Like
A
he might
blessing in
not even be a world
disguise.
team member had
Zaheed's
he
got
won the U.S. Open like he was expected to.
Zaheed better buy Aaron Brooks a meal or something for that one because well, speaking of Aaron
Especially if
Brooks,
he medals.
oh my God. And speaking of Aaron Brooks, I mean, I don't think anyone was anticipating him to beat David Taylor. The second match was a lot more competitive than the first. But I mean, it was David Taylor all the way. It
Yeah,
wasn't really
no,
close.
Brooks really could not crack through on Taylor. Like it was definitely Taylor was in control of the match. I mean, they were close and it was competitive, but At no point did it seem like Taylor was in danger of losing those
No,
matches.
no, and this it was a similar story with Jason Nolf and Kyle Dake, which I was a little frustrated with Jason Nolf because he just to me it didn't feel like he was making an active enough of effort to
Yeah.
score. And I know Kyle Dake is like impossible to score on, but it was
Yeah,
just a
I
boring
mean,
match.
for such a great matchup, it ended up being like a kind of boring match to watch because not really much was happening.
No, because Dake is more of he picks his spots and he doesn't necessarily he's not like an offensive machine, or at least he
Yeah.
wasn't that day, but he dominated. It wasn't even close.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen Nolf, at least in the second match, made the adjustments of just kind of like letting it fly and shoot, 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 or something. I don't know. But yeah, no, that was underwhelming. And then the last matchup was probably the best of the bunch. Uh, what a like kind of Cinderella like story for Chance Marsteller here. Yeah, Burroughs Marsteller. Those were three great matches, and I'd argue it should have only been two because the the first win that Burroughs got. With that penalty point, I mean, granted, okay, that is a rule, but like you got out wrestled and you had to steal the win from the guy. Like, I'm gonna win this match because he his finger caught my thing. I wasn't.
Those three matches were definitely worth the price of admission.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, Jordan Burroughs in New Jersey getting booed 2 out of
Yeah,
three
that was
matches.
wild.
Like for those who weren't there, uh, Jordan Burroughs challenges after the clock is out, and
On the
it and,
first match. Yeah,
and it's revealed that Chance Marsteller accidentally pulled his singlet, uh, Jordan Burroughs' singlet, which it looked big. I thought his Burroughs' singlet looked big on him. Everyone else kind of filled out nicely. I don't know. It was probably wasn't intentional, but I thought it looked big. And then afterwards, he has Mark Hall throw the brick, and it gets overturned, and Burroughs wins the match. Constant boos from the crowd. They didn't like the
yeah.
call, and we were
Because
walking
because
around.
Marsteller out wrestled him and he won the match. Like he deserved to win that match.
No, it wasn't intentional, and it wasn't preventing Burroughs to score. And we were walking around, and we saw so many Chance Marsteller t-shirts. It was crazy. I think we
Well,
saw
and
a
the crowd was
halo.
like cheering for Chance more than anything. And then, especially after the next two matches, like the crowd really gave it a lot of applause to Chance. I mean, granted he is training in New Jersey, so I mean he's building a fan base in New Jersey and whatnot. But yeah, that was something else.
It's still hard to fathom, though, Jordan Burroughs getting booed
Yeah, right.
by his home state's crowd. I mean, that's just got
Yeah,
to be like a loss, a moral loss
yeah,
of a feeling. And then, the big moment afterwards was when he was just kind of contemplating his
yeah. He was
career.
there for several minutes, clearly deep in thought.
Yeah, and a lot of people thought he was going to retire then and there, but Mark Hall eventually lifted him up. And by the way, Mark Hall was hilarious as Jordan Burroughs' corner coach. He looked
Um,
like a gym coach to me, just like
yeah.
classic polo tucked into sweatpants.
Yep. He had the towel around his neck.
Yeah, towel. He's like massaging the arms. Like I was never
Uh,
a big Mark Hall fan, but his performance as the
as a
coach
coach in the
in
corner, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I'd want him in my corner. I'd want.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You could tell he was all in there helping his athletes. I mean, didn't have a great turnout for Berger and Burroughs, but like still, every time I saw Mark Hall in the corner, I was like, yeah, this is great. This is something else.
No, there was only what one men's match that went to
Only
the
one men. Yeah, I mean, there was a bunch of Greco that went to multiple, but there was only one men's freestyle that went to three, and only one women's freestyle that went to three.
right, and that was at no, not Adeline Gray,
No,
but
that was
but
yeah,
before we get to the one that went to three, Adeline Gray, how about that?
yeah.
I
That was okay. So you start off U.S. Open. She gets teched in like the first period, or maybe early in the second period. Kennedy Blades teched. So 10 points, boom, done, match over. And then she blanks Adeline, no, she blanks Kennedy Blades in 2 matches. What? Like I mean, you, I kind of saw it. We kind of saw that, like her at the U.S. Open compared to at the World Team Trials Challenge Tournament. There was a huge jump. So she clearly was shaking a lot more rust off. So that when she got to Final X there, she was definitely a lot more true form, like back to her form before she had her kids. Like she was back to like a world medalist level talent, and it was amazing to see that. Even though Kennedy Blades could come out to a kind of commanding lead at times, she couldn't put her away. She couldn't win the matches. It was
Well,
yeah
and what was crazy was that both matches, Adeline Gray was losing. I think it was by 6-1 and 5-1 in the
yeah
second period with like 2 minutes left. And Blades just crashed and burned.
yeah
And I
yeah
think the
she,
second
yeah
match she got pinned, right?
yeah. The second one she got pinned. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
yeah,
I
and
think the first one she lost in like the last 20 seconds.
yeah. I mean, she out wrestled her. Blades out wrestled Gray in the first period, both matches.
Yeah,
And
if you
just
went by like who's the more skilled wrestler, like Kennedy Blades looks like the more skilled wrestler, but Gray's more seasoned and she knows how to find a way to win, whereas Blades clearly hasn't figured that part out yet, yet at least.
well, she's young. She's got a lot of years ahead of her,
Yeah,
and there's no shame in losing to Adeline
but
Gray.
yeah, with the women, a lot of these just went. I mean, a lot of them. 7 out of the 9, or no, 8 out of the 9 uh, went two blank. I mean, not all that surprising because they were all the not all most of the returning world team members. Amit Alor, Sarah Hildebrandt, Dom Parrish, Jakara Winchester, Kayla Miracle were all the returning members. Macy Kilty and Jen Page were the ones breaking through as the newbies in 2 straight. Kilty knocking off a world team member, which was pretty impressive. Uh, Helen Maroulis and Mota Pettis did not wrestle. That's going to happen at a later date, so that was a little
Yeah, I'm
disappointing to
excited
find
for
out.
that one.
Yeah, that's still to be determined because Maroulis was injured, but that'll still be good. I just kind of wish we got to see it live in person.
I mean, overall though, really, really cool event. We got to see a lot of cool wrestling. Uh,
Yeah,
little surprised that the turnout. It felt like a lot of people just left after round one and they didn't
yeah,
stick
that
around.
definitely did seem like that was the case. But and then the last matchup that we alluded to was Forrest Molinari on Emma Bruntel. I mean, I predicted that Bruntel was going to punch through, but when we were sitting there watching, at first I was just like, she's never been able to pull it off yet. Like she always seems to take like second of the U.S. Open. But but she actually out wrestled Molinari in like all the matches, even the one she won. Like she wrestled really well. She was real tough. I think she kind of blew that one that she lost. So I mean, I think she's probably just as likely as Molinari would have been had she won to medal. So I think Team USA is in good hands here with the team, the men and women's teams that we got. I think we're gonna have a lot of medalists, even for the first time world team members.
What do you guys think? What were your favorite Final X matchups? Which
Or moments.
or moments? Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, my favorite moment was Mark Hall in the corner. Yeah,
Towel.
yeah, I had to see it to
Yeah,
believe
he was like
it.
shuffling and circling with the towel. Like,
I highly recommend next year attending live and in person. There's
I
not.
love that all the matches were at once. Like the last time we went, it was split, and we only got to see half of them.
Yeah, it's a really cool event, and leave us a comment down below. What did you think? And we'd love to hear from you guys.
Thanks for watching. We are Cactus Wrestling, and we'll see you next time on our next video.